day. You want to be in the building, you need to be in the building. I've been posting, everybody else here at the station has been posting. And again, I'm going to do it for you. We're live. I'm going to hold these tickets up. You see them. I got the tickets in my hand. So, it's going to be more at the door. You saw the price, $40 for general admission, $75 for VIP. I'm gonna let you know right now. You come to the door, you only getting general admission, standing room only. There will be no VIP tickets sold at the door. But why would you want to do that to yourself or shortchange yourself? You know, don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. Get in the building, get at me. I see you liking the post, I see you responding to the post, but you need to get in here. You need to get these tickets because they're gonna be going, especially now. And I know people are probably gonna say, "Oh, well, I need a couple tickets." I've been telling y'all this for weeks. So if you need tickets, get at me. You know where to find me. You know where to find me. You're gonna see some more posts, and instead of liking the post, like I always say, get in the messages and tell me how many tickets you need. Like I said, we take Cash App. You can Cash at me. I also got Zelle if you don't have Cash App, so we can work it out. We can get you in the building. I'm gonna be in the building, whether you there or not. Sports Rap Crew is gonna be in the building, whether you in there or not. And it would behoove you to be in the building and witness it up close and personal, as opposed to seeing it all over social media. So again, welcome back to the final segment of this episode of the Sports Rap Podcast. And right now, we are going to somewhat quickly go through the two team schedules because these are the two teams that are represented. Both of my partners are 49ers fans and I'm the Eagles fan. So we're going to go through these individual team schedules and then we're going to talk a little bit about the week one schedule. And like I said, we're doing it a little early because of our event and we don't have a show that Monday because we'll be recouping to we will be recouping from Sunday. And the football season starts that Thursday, so we'll be able to get with you live to cover or recap week one and get you prepped for week two. Actually, we're going to have to do week two. I'm going to have to do some work later on in that week. I'm going to have to post that schedule like I always do and get you prepped for week two in advance. So, looking at the Eagles schedule first. Eagles open up September the 12th, the following Sunday, the first Sunday, at Atlanta. So let me just say, as an Eagles fan, and some of the things that I've been seeing and reading and hearing about training camp, I just have a gut feeling that the Eagles are going to be slightly better than what people had predicted from the get-go when they went through the whole fiasco of the Carson Wentz trade and other things of that nature. So I just feel like what I've seen and what I've heard and read, that they'll be slightly better. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we're going to make a serious push in the playoffs and for the Super Bowl, nothing like that. I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying that after the fact, I think the new coach, Nick Sirianni, is coming off as a player's coach. And I think the type of player that Jalen Hurts is, he feels like he has something to prove. And even with the flashes that we saw in those last 4 games of last season, I think he'll be okay. Especially with the one draft pick, they drafted a Heisman Trophy winner. And this kid is good. A lot of people talked about his size, and I think that'll come later on. But if you watch this kid on the field, you know, a lot of people like to say it in the sports world, he has it. And I think right now he has it. And the one slight advantage for them, Mag, what's going on, is the fact that I believe there's some continuity, there's some familiarity between him and Jalen Hurts. I'm talking about Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts. So I look at this schedule, and it is going to be a tough schedule for the Eagles. They have my guys' team, San Francisco, at home in week 2.
Yes, sir.
Then in week 4, they have Kansas City, followed by Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That 4-game stretch is going to be extremely tough. In my opinion, I can arguably see them getting one game out of that. And
Out of the first 7.
no, out of this four, just this
Oh,
4-game
in that
stretch.
4-game stretch.
So week
I got
5,
you.
6,
Yeah.
7.
1, 2.
So week 4, 5, 6, weeks 4 through 7.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see them possibly being 1 and 2, depending on how Dallas defense plays out. Arguably 2 and 1
Mm-hmm.
going into week 4.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets tough. They got Kansas City. Some of the blessing is the 2 toughest games I think in this stretch, week 4 through 7, are the 2 toughest teams are at home, Kansas City and Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the quarterback situation is fully in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And the Eagles made some improvements in the back end of that defense. They have 2 legit cornerbacks now. The defensive line is always, you can say, stout for the Eagles. I think they made some improvement at the linebacker position. So I think they can get at least one of those games, arguably 2. And I'm thinking the 2 away games, Carolina and at Las Vegas. Because we saw what the Raiders have done in the last year or 2. Then they get a little break and they get Detroit. Then they've got the Chargers. And they go to Denver. You got New Orleans. And then it gets, what they've been doing here recently in the last few years. The division games, the division heavy on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
I think the NFC East, even when it's the worst division in football, internally, it's always tough. And it's just for those 4 teams playing each other, it's always tough. So, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3.
So your last 6
4,
games, 5 are division games.
6, 7, 8. I can see them going 8 and 9. And I say that because I think one of the teams they may sweep in the division, but I'm going on a limb and I'm just going to play it safe and say they split with everybody in the division. So I'm looking at like no more than 8. People were saying like 6 in this and 4 in that. And then people forgetting they added another week in.
Right.
So it's 17 games now instead of 16. This is where I get the 8 and 9.
Right.
Then they can be 8 and 9. I don't know what the other team schedules look like. So that may get them a wild card. It may not. I mean, it would be great if they get a wild card. But I'm going to go with the 8 and 9 for the Eagles. And like I said, slightly better than what people have been expecting of them. So we move on to 49ers. 49ers open on Sunday at Detroit, and then they got Philadelphia. 2 away games to start the season. I look at this schedule in front of me, and I see week 3 and 4 as arguably 2 tough games. But they're home, Green Bay and Seattle, but still 2 tough games. One of them is a division game, which is always tough. Yeah, Frank, 49ers, You want to hear what your prediction is? No way. I don't see that. Unless Trey Lance pops up and starts in week 3. Frank just said 12 and 5.
Well, we got 17 games, Frank. Well, 17 weeks.
Mhm.
My bad. Not 17 games. 17 weeks. So I'm going to say. I can't say 12-5. I'm gonna say
It's 17 games, 18 weeks, 17
Am I
games. They
wrong?
added that game. Yeah, they added that game in, so it's 18 weeks. Remember, it was 16 games with 17 weeks with the bye week. So now it's 17 games with the bye week, makes it 18. 18 weeks, but 17 games. Yeah, 17 games.
13.
And
Wow,
yeah, Frank, the defense
you
can
got
be
17
crazy.
games on yours. What's your first game is when?
Our
Is the
first game
Falcons.
is 12, yeah, against the Falcons.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Gotcha.
Yeah. Now I understand the defense is going to be crazy, and I get that, but the defense is not your primary scoring point. And again, you all know how we feel about your boy.
Yeah.
So I think, and he said the offense is going to be top 5. Depends on who's playing quarterback.
I can't say if our offense is going to be top 5. I might say that our running game might be top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not complete offense. That's just
Right.
one phase of the offense. I think that we have the ability to run the ball down everybody's throat,
Mm-hmm.
make people play our style of game. The run opens up the pass.
Right.
Our quarterback don't have to be dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
But there are games where that quarterback is going to show that he's a damn quarterback. He's going to have to show it.
Right.
And if he can't deliver that, like you said, somewhere around that third, because we're literally in a push. This is a Super Bowl push.
Right.
This ain't no let's just make the playoffs. We was in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we
Frank,
was in the Super Bowl.
that don't happen much in the NFL. He just said both quarterbacks are going to be in the first 3 games. I don't see how you do that in the NFL. If it was college football, you could very easily say that.
You're not
But it's tough. It's tough to do that in the NFL.
unless you're the Saints and the
Right.
way they did it with their guy. But the way they did it with their guy was preparing him for the role as a starter.
Right. And
So-
we see what happened there.
Right.
He's not the starter.
He's not the starter.
So in all essence, we don't even know if it's going to be that dual quarterback
Right.
situation anymore
Right.
in New Orleans.
And I look at like, when I was looking at our schedule, and then I looked at your schedule, and I'm looking at how your last 5 games are
Mhm.
division,
All division
games.
games.
We only have 2 division games in our last 6 games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of weird because they put ours like 2 in up front,
Mhm.
2 in the middle,
and then
2 in the
back.
end.
Right.
You know, it's weird that they would do your schedule like that.
They've been doing the NFC East like
Well,
that.
they've been
for the
putting
last,
the division
2
games on the
at
back
end.
end. Most
Yeah,
of the division
but
games
it's
on the
been
back end.
mostly, and you know, I think it's because of that run that the NFC East had for a
Yeah,
long time,
yeah.
where they felt like they had to do something to try and shake it up a little bit,
Yeah,
you know, and because somebody new wins that division every year since the Eagles had did it back to back, and we know
Right.
how long ago that was. And that division, like I said, even when that entire division is bad, like we saw just past season,
Mhm.
the entire division was bad, and you had a team that was what, Washington football team, 9-7, just barely, literally just barely making the playoffs.
Mhm.
But because they won the division, they had to host a game against the eventual NFL champions,
Mhm.
which I think is crazy. But like we said, it's the way the NFL is set up. You win the division, you get that top tier
Yeah,
game.
right.
You know, I think they should tweak that, because like we went through it last year. We went through teams that were 10-6, a la Tampa Bay
Mhm.
was
And-
10-6, I believe, or whatever, and had to go on the road.
And it goes back to what we talked about years ago, where we need to pick top 8
Mm-hmm.
despite the division.
Right.
You
I
need
mean,
to
they
pick
did
it.
try, but they gave it one team
Yeah.
had to buy in each conference.
Yeah.
But
But I mean,
think you
even
gotta
still,
tweak
you
it a little
created
bit
the
more.
you created the divisions by way of geographics.
Right.
You didn't create the division based on the win percentage. You base it on geographics. So if it's on geographics, then okay, let's run straight A. Now, if your division ain't good enough to get in, you don't have a division winner in that division.
Right.
It's that. I mean,
Right.
now here's the kick. Again, when the green comes into play, when that money comes into play, what they're saying is the shared revenue in the Eastern Conference is we can't lose that revenue because you got the Giants. The New York Giants is in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Meadowlands.
Right.
But then you got the Eagles, Philadelphia, season ticket holders for life.
For life.
Then you got Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Dallas.
Right.
So you got markets that we gotta pick one of these guys because it's a big market.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter who wins that division.
Right.
We know that there's going to be some earned revenue that's going to come back to the NFL. So
Absolutely.
I get that portion. I understand that you don't want to lose this money, but
Right.
the realization of it is, if you get a division like San Francisco, where a 10-6 guy probably ain't getting in there because the division is so tough, but an 8-8 team not only gets in, wins their division, and hosts
Host the game.
a game.
Yeah.
So we talk about the all fairness. It's kind of bad that one division can be so good, and a team actually have a very good record and still
Will
can't
not
get
make
in.
it. Yeah. And we saw that just last year.
It just
we saw
happened.
teams that were 10-6 that didn't make the playoffs.
So I think that the NFL should at least try 1 year where they go straight A.
Right. Just straight top.
They
eight.
go straight A.
Yeah.
Straight A, top 8 teams get in, and the top records get the bye. And you know we dice it up the way we dice it up. But the
Yeah.
straight 8 for 1 year, they did the straight 8. You're getting the best football.
Right.
You're
May
getting
not be the best quote unquote markets, but you're going to
but
get.
you're
the
going to
best
get the
football.
best football because the best
And
teams.
ideally, I think that's what you really want.
That's what you want.
As far as for the fans and
You're gonna get the best football.
You're gonna get the best football because it's going to all the playoff games are on TV, so you're going to get the TV ratings. So you're going to recoup from that. You're going to get the looks. You know, you're going to sell the tickets.
Mhm.
You know, you're going to sell the tickets. You're going to get the TV time, so you're going to get the revenue from that.
And you gotta remember too, at one time when the NFC West was arguably the worst division in football for years, they said that the 49ers was just skating through because the division was so bad. But at the
Right.
same time, we were beating the best teams in the league as well. So we were a good team. It's just our division. So they basically were saying we were padding our stats
Yeah.
because the division was bad. So
Right.
they went almost 20 years. Niners went almost 20 years with 10-6 records. You know what I mean?
Right.
With losing no more than 4 or 5 games a season.
Yeah.
But that's just what you get when you're on one end of it in terms of your division. Now outside of your division, you have non-conference games. You have to play conference games. So let's just start looking at if we go back, right? If we all go back and we all look at what the division records were or conference records were in the last 5 years, and we take the top 8 records, 5 years, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, and we look at who got in and who didn't, we'll be able to see the type of football that we would have been able to see with guys that had 10-6 records, but then 8-8 guys got in. So the game of football, they need to just start looking at a way to enhance the quality of playoff game, because that cuts into the betting, the way people bet. You know, if I got a team that's 8-8 and they're playing a team that's 12-5, well, the wages and the way you bet is even different. So if I know I'm playing, if I know that Green Bay is going to play Washington football team, and the Washington football team is 7 and whatever, 9 or 9 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
The way you bet is going to be different.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
The odds change. But if I'm taking the top 8 and there's this parity amongst all 8 teams where 10 and 5 only got you in.
Mm-hmm.
So the least losses that a team had was 6 losses. All the teams in there are 10 and 6 and up. Maybe one 9 and 17. Well, you got parity. You don't know who to pick from.
Right.
So the way you bet is going to be different. The bets become more even.
Mm-hmm.
So the odds aren't in a lot of people's favor.
Right.
And normally the better team.
Yeah.
All right, I can look at the betting board and say, oh well, yeah, well at one time I'm gonna take New England over X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely gonna win that. They gonna win that.
Yeah.
But when the parity is so equal, how do you bet that?
Right.
How does the odds come
Yeah.
out?
It's gonna take a lot of consideration when you start to bet.
Yeah, those
About
7-1s turn into 2-1s. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So people can't make enough money.
Right.
See, when the odds are so high, you can guarantee that
Guarantee
people are
you
going to
the house is gonna make some money.
Exactly, and you only
Yeah.
got to pay out minimum.
Right.
You know what I mean? You only have to pay out minimum when
It's
those
always the
odds
goal
are.
with the house. If y'all don't
Yeah,
know
man.
about betting. It's
So
always
I
the goal
just
with the house.
think that one year they should dive into that with that straight.
I mean, I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see
And
what
you
that
know,
look like.
and like you said, we talked about it last year. We talked about the NFC East, and you know they were joking, calling it the NFC least. And overall, brutally honest, it was just a bad division, all the way across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, there was a team that was going to be just barely scraping above 500 that was going to make the playoffs because they ended up winning the division.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, like we said, it's the Washington football team. They made a surge. They won a division. And then because they won the division, they got to host a
Right.
playoff game. Which in my opinion, I don't think should have happened. Even though they won the division, I think because of their record, I think they should have went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay was better record. They just didn't win their division
Right.
by chance.
Right.
So I still think that better record holding team should be respected a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and have that game at home. Because you never know. I mean, Washington could have won. You know, like they say, any given Sunday, anybody could have won. But as you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have eventually went on to be Super Bowl champions, you know, they probably or arguably went into that game with 2 chips on their shoulder. You know, like, look,
Mhm.
we got to play this team. And I think they had played them earlier in the season and beat them.
Yeah.
And it's like, we got to go there and play them just because they won the division. Our record is better.
Right.
So ideally, we would both feel like we should have that home game.
That's
You know,
Yeah.
I think that happened one time, maybe in the NBA, and it was in that middle pack, the 4 or 5 seed,
mm-hmm.
and the 5 seed hosted that series
Mhm.
because they had the better record. But like I said, I think it just happened that one time, and I think they scrapped that
Mm-hmm.
where like, no, we not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, it's no way. That's the incentive, I think, for situations like the playoffs. That's what these teams play for,
Mm-hmm.
to either make it into the playoffs, but ideally you want to make it into the playoffs and you want to start off at home.
Right.
You want to ride that momentum or begin that momentum. If you aren't riding it from the end of the regular season, you want to reignite that momentum
Mm-hmm.
going into the playoffs. And there's what better way to do that than to start at home?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was in a small way. You could arguably say it was great for the Redskins and that fan base because they had been so bad
Right.
in that division for so long. But still, you still make the playoffs. But I just don't think that just because you won the division, and I say, and then you look at the entire division, I don't think that division should have warranted a home game. And like I mentioned here on the show, I said somebody from this division is going to make the playoffs.
Right.
There's no doubt about that because somebody's going to win the division. And like I said, it was so bad, and the reason I feel like the winner of that division should have still went on the road, because as bad as the Eagles were, if they hadn't, in essence, kind of thrown the last two games,
Yeah.
still had a chance to win the division.
Yeah.
Just because of the numbers. Now, let's just play devil's advocate for a second. Let's just say that they didn't do what they did in those last two games, and miraculously somehow they won the division. It's no way, because of their body of work for that season, it's no way they should have hosted a first round playoff game.
Yeah, there's no way.
It was no way that they should have been hosting a game in that realm. So again, like we said, it's just by matter of chance that somebody won the division, and because they were the division winner, they got the home game, which, in my opinion, doesn't really bode well, because like I said, you had teams that could arguably say, and like Baldy said, if you go that straight 1 through 8, that would have been in the playoffs. Instead, they were on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
So like the fruits of their labor was almost for nothing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because we go back and we look at the last few years, it's like 10-6 and you in.
Hey.
Whether you home game hosting or not, it used to be where you win 10 games, you in the playoffs.
And listen,
Somewhere.
and it sounds crazy, right? But I know there's some folks on here that play high school football, and I'm telling you, when we played in high school, Division A was the division that normally won the high school championship. Division A had Frankfort, Northeast, Lincoln, Washington, and Allen. Washington was winning all the championships in the 90s. Frankfort was in the loop almost most of the time. Northeast was just as good. And this is crazy. Well, Lincoln was trash. Sorry, rail splitters. It just what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But we had an 8-2-1 record, a 7-4 record. Did not make the playoffs because of the division.
Mm-hmm.
But then you could take like a replication of the NFC East was the C division, which had Edison.
Okay.
It had a bunch of Kensington. Like it had a bunch of other cats where they 4 games
And they in the playoffs.
and they like 8-4, 4-7, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
4, you know what I mean? And the division dictated that, and it's the same thing. So it's clear that that's a replication of high school and divisions as well as how the NFL is played. And literally, I would literally sit back and have these conversations with dudes from those divisions and say, yo, if y'all was in our division, dog, y'all wouldn't have won a game. Forget all that y'all making the playoffs. Y'all gonna get bombed anyway. But the fact that y'all making the playoffs was a problem. Because it was good teams in other divisions that couldn't get in because the division was that much better. Mm-hmm. So if they had done a straight 8, 9 times out of 10, these division C's or E's, or just like how you was explaining about the NFC East, probably wouldn't have got in.
Right.
And you're not getting the best of football in that playoff run if the best teams aren't in the playoffs. You know what I mean? You got to get the best guys in the playoffs. And I don't know, man. It's just a weird thing. And when I look at our schedule, I think we're going to lose about 6 games, 6 to 7 games.
Okay.
That's where I got us.
So you're saying like 11-6?
I'm thinking that we can go 11 and I'm saying 10-7. I'm going to say 10-7. I think that we got some things that we need to look at.
That's where I was with you guys. For my prediction for the 49ers at 10-7. And I base that on the division games.
Right.
Because the last couple of years we've seen how that division has been.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know for most recently, Arizona always plays you guys tough.
Mm-hmm. And the Rams have beat
The
us.
Rams have beaten you guys. And then you got Seattle in that division as well.
Mm-hmm. And we normally split with them.
Right.
We normally split with
So,
them.
you know, I go with 10-7 as well. Baldy says 10-7. And the ominous Frank, and he says they own the Rams. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm writing this down.
We don't own the Rams because if you look at the last 3 years, we actually split with them. We split our whole division up. We didn't sweep the division, and nobody in the division swept.
The division.
Seattle split with us. The year before that, we beat Seattle two games. That's the first time we beat them twice in the division in like the last 7 years.
Yeah, Frank, we know Seattle's not the team they used to be, but
we still only split with
we
them.
only split. Right. You know,
So
I'm
we
not-
haven't ran the division. Like, no one's running that division. There's
Right.
still too much parity.
And-
Teams know
And
each
then
other.
now he's saying Arizona's overrated. Yeah, but they split with y'all.
They split with us, and that's the point. I ain't talking about what they're rated on.
Right.
I'm
We
talking
just talking
about
about
the
play.
history of
The
that
history
division.
and the actual
Is
play, yeah.
you're going to get a guy. So if you got 4 guys in that division, that literally means my team. If we're sweeping, that's saying we're going to go 6-0
Right.
because we got to play those 2 teams twice.
Yep.
Nobody's went 6-0 in that division probably in the last 15 years.
Absolutely.
So when you look at it, you're going to get a team like Seattle did when they went 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona at one time split, they went 3-3. So it's always been a 4-2, 3-3 guy coming out that division.
Right.
It hasn't been a 6-0 sweep in that division for over the last 15 years.
4-2. He's saying 4-2 in the division. Well, we'll see. And again, it depends on how that quarterback situation plays out. So there you have it, folks. For all of us here, the crew, myself and Baldy for the 49ers go with 10-7, and Frank is making that push and jumping out there all by himself and saying 12-5. So we got it written down. And I got a witness here with me. Baldy's got it. I'm gonna hold the paper up.
Uh-huh.
You can't see what I wrote down on the paper, but you see I got it written down.
And he
And
said
I'm
12
putting
and
this-
what?
12-5.
12-5.
Baldy's writing it down too, and I'm putting this in safe keepings. So we go back. Now on the Eagles side, since Frank is not here, and I don't know if he can hear this, and he'll chime in. He'll probably give them a bum rating. I'm a fan, and I said 8-9
8-9.
for the Eagles. Like I said, I think that's slightly better than what people have expected. Yeah, now he's going backwards. He said the year that they won with it, the year he said they was going to the Super Bowl, they went to the Super Bowl.
You
Yeah, but
say
Frank-
that every year.
But Frank, we all know it means nothing if you don't win. Now he just said 8-9 for the Eagles. Okay, I'm writing that down too. So
8-9.
yeah. That's what Frank said for the Eagles. So Baldy will give us his in a second for the Eagles.
All right, I'm going to go. I can't.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
I'm giving y'all 7-10.
7-10. Okay. I mean that's
It's on the
not like-
borderline of the
yeah,
same thing.
but that's not anything bad.
10 is a lot of losses, though.
Right, it's a lot of losses, and you have to still can take in this right. And like you said, like I said in the beginning, I'm a fan. I'm not mad at that because
You know why I think 10 is a reasonable number? I think 10 is a reasonable number just for the simple fact that I think young boy is going to be dynamic. But there's going to be some learning curves that's going to happen. He's going to win you some games.
And
He's going to
gonna
lose you some games.
Yeah.
It's all going to
and
be
you got a
predicated.
brand new coaching
Yeah.
staff.
And it's all going to be predicated on what your defense can handle. If your defense is going to spend a lot of time on
Right.
that field or
That's
not.
the
You know what I
biggest
mean?
thing. Yep.
So I think because,
Absolutely.
like you say, it's a new coaching staff, everything's new,
Hey,
and
everything's new.
everything got to get acclimated.
You know, yeah. And I mean, it would be a miracle, it'll be a small miracle if they get to win a division and make it to the playoffs.
Yeah,
You know,
it's gonna be rough,
it's gonna be rough.
and you got to take health into account.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. So, Oh, Frankie, the coach is clueless. You know, your quarterback is clueless. Okay, I don't think Sirianni is clueless. I think he's like I mentioned earlier. I think he's a play. He's becoming a player's coach, and I think he's won some of these guys over, and I think he's won them over to the point where some of these veterans on the team are going to do what they can and go out and perform for him. But like Baldy said, it's a lot in the mix that they're going to have to overcome to get where they want to be. And I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think it's going to take a couple years. I don't think it's going to happen this year.
And let me say something, Frank. That year that you said we was going to the chip, you said we was going to win the chip. We actually got to the chip. But here's the kick. The very next year, I said, so what do you think is going to be this year? You said, we're going back. And I said, no, sir. We probably going to win 8 games. We won less than 8. Now, again, we're talking about health issues. We probably had the most injuries to starters on any NFL team.
Yep.
We probably was number 1 in that. So that played a big part in why we didn't even contend. We didn't even make the playoffs.
Yep.
But when you look at the health of our team now, and then you look at the depth of our team now, there's a possibility that a 10-win season is on the horizon.
Absolutely.
What we don't know is if we make it to the playoffs, how is our coach going to differentiate of what he did before in a Niners uniform and in an Atlanta uniform?
Absolutely.
That's the question. And so now we got our coach. The Eagles got their coach. He's new. We got our coach. He's a little more seasoned. We know what we want to do. They're going to figure out what they're going to do. That's where these numbers come in at.
Absolutely.
So my prediction for you is in that 10 and 12 and 5 run, is it a championship? That's the question.
That's the big question.
Because the 12 and 5 run,
don't necessarily
you chip
always,
chasing.
yeah.
You chip chasing.
Right. And it don't always mean that you'll win it.
And it doesn't mean that.
All right, so we got about 5 minutes left. We might go a little slightly over. Let's get through this schedule. Week 1 NFL next week, Thursday, September the 9th. Kicking off Dallas at Tampa Bay.
I'm gonna take the back.
I'm going with the Bucks as well. The uncertainty with that shoulder and things of that from Dak. And I don't know how much improvements Dallas has made on defense with some of them players that were pretty good for them. I think retired, like Sean Lee retired, a couple other players. I mean, they got some speedy linebackers, but it all depends on how they come together as a unit. And we move into Sunday, Pittsburgh at Buffalo. I'm going with the Bills.
Let's see. Pittsburgh and Buffalo.
Yeah, I like the Bills at home. The Bills really showed me something last season, so I like the Bills at home.
I'll skip some. I'm gonna take. Yeah, I'm gonna take Buffalo.
Unanimous there. The Jets at the Panthers. Depending on what the young kid does, but then there's not much more after that, I'm going to go with Carolina at home.
Yeah, I could take. I'm gonna go with Panthers.
Jacksonville at Houston. Surprisingly, I'm going to push the envelope here. And because he has now been named the starter and we don't know the situation in Houston, I'm going to push the envelope here. This is going to be my switch game, and I'm going to go with the Jags.
I just said I was going to Jacksonville.
Yeah, Frank said Jags too. Yeah. Arizona at Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill situation, although I do like Tennessee, we're not 100% sure if he's going to be fully healthy for Tennessee at that point. So I'm gonna stretch again. I'm gonna go with the Cards on the road.
I think that even though their quarterback situation is an issue, I think that Derrick Henry is going to run through them. So I'm going to take the Titans.
You do that. I can see that. Chargers at Washington football team. For me, there, I'm going with the Washington football team.
I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers.
Okay. Philadelphia at Atlanta.
Okay.
No Julio Jones. The improvements that the Eagles made in the secondary. I'm going to take a surprise and take the Eagles in that game against Atlanta on the
I think
road.
they could beat the Falcons.
Seattle at Indy. Going to be a big test for Carson Wentz. Frank had slightly mentioned that Seattle's not the team that they used to be. I totally agree there. But you got somebody that's starting over. A lot of things could be going through his head if he is able to start that first game. I am going to go with the Seahawks on the road, the Russell Wilson factor.
Yeah, I think Seahawks will beat Indianapolis in Indianapolis due to them not being completely sure what the hell is going on.
Minnesota at Cincy. Wow, this is a tough one. That is a tough one. Let's see. I'm gonna go with the Vikes on the road. Frank is going with the Bengals. All depends on how Burrow comes back off that injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the Vikes.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna take the Vikings. In that.
Cleveland at Kansas City. At home, I gotta go with Mahomes.
Yeah, Chiefs.
Frank, the Bengals are good, yeah, but it all depends on what that quarterback can do. Who's their backup? That's the big question. Who's their backup? Now, how can he perform? Miami at New England.
I'm going with Fins, baby.
You going with the Fins, you said?
Yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins.
I can see the Fins.
I ain't sold on anything in New England right now.
No, not right now. Frank is going with the Patriots. Okay. Denver at the New York Giants. Uncertainty at quarterback for Denver. Going with the G-Man.
Yeah, the G-Man having Saquon back does wonders for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with the Giants.
Yep. Green Bay at New Orleans.
Frank went with Denver.
Yeah, Frank went with
Alright.
Denver. Green Bay at New Orleans.
Going with the Pack.
I'm going with the Pack as well.
We know Danny Dimes.
Yeah, we know. We ain't even talking about that. So I guess that means you picking the Broncos, huh?
Yeah, he took Denver.
Yeah, he took the Broncos, yeah. The last game, he's got the Pack in this game. The last game on Sunday, Chicago at the LA Rams. Rookie quarterback for Chicago. I'm going with the Rams in their defense.
Yeah, I'm going to rock out with the Rams.
And closing out week 1, Monday the 13th, Baltimore at Las Vegas.
Gotta take the Ravens.
I like the Ravens as well. Frank is also going with the Ravens. All right, folks, there you have it. Those are our week 1 picks. We are done for the day. Great show, great dialogue once again, as always. Remember, folks, we're going to close out. I'm holding them up once again. I got tickets. By chance, I know you watching. You saw me step out of the room for a second. I just got rid of 2 tickets. So, y'all need to get these tickets. We are pushing towards the finish line. You don't want to be left out. Like I said, Facebook, you know where to find me, at @sportswag_D on Instagram. the group page, Sports Rap Podcast on Facebook. Get over there, message me, let me know how many tickets you need. If you can't get me, you can hit Baldy at Ball75 on Instagram, Aaron Baldy-Moore on Facebook. Everybody knows Franklin Milligan 2418 on Instagram, or Franklin Milligan on Facebook. Hit any one of us up and we will make a way for you to get your tickets if you need tickets. Be great on purpose, folks. Stay tuned as always. Enjoy today. It's not going to be as steamy. There is a chance of some showers today, but nonetheless, get your work week started. And always remember, you'll see us all week on social media. Right back here in 2 weeks, because we're going to be recouping next Monday for the residents and the recouping of our anniversary, which we hope to see most of you at. So we're going to leave you with this. Again, we'll see you on the 13th, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you on Sunday. Have a good day, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week.